Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, today we 3H squad, Hana, Halimah and Hani will bring you this interesting video about zakat management around the world. Now, some of you might have heard about zakat, some of you might not. But what is zakat exactly? According to Basnas, Indonesia's national zakat body, zakat is part of accumulated wealth that every Muslim must pay when it reaches certain requirements that have been established. Zakat is one of 5 pillars in Islam, an obligation for every eligible Muslim as their contribution to distribute wealth and supporting social justice. We know that in order to have a healthy and thriving business, we have to create a sound and efficient management system. This also applies in zakat management. In order to distribute the funds that have been gathered evenly, an efficient zakat body with sound management have to be established. In Muslim majority countries, zakat fund organization usually regulated under government's establishment. There are two models of zakat management that known in general. First is zakat fund managed by government under a department, and the second is zakat fund managed by private non-profit organizations, by civilians or semi-government under regulation that government have established. Both of the models have their own advantage and downside. In Indonesia itself, both of the models are combined by involving government and civilians. These models are used because Indonesia is not an Islamic country. Thus, government can't involve too deep in particular religion's practice. Instead, the government acts as a facilitator. Now, you know about zakat in general and government roles in zakat fund management. You know about Indonesia, but what about zakat management in other Muslim majority countries? We'll go straight in. Saudi Arabia. Policy. First zakat practice and management policy in Saudi was legalized in 1951 through royal order. Before this policy established, zakat practice had been a personal obligation. Zakat in Saudi Arabia is mandatory for every Saudi citizen and Persian Gulf citizen that reside in Saudi Arabia. Now, if you think it's not fair to make it mandatory for them, the Saudi government does not charge them any tax in place of zakat. Zakat management institutions. Department of Zakat and Income Tax or Maslahah Az-Zakah wa Ad-Dakhil is the Saudi Central Zakat Management Agency. But in terms of distribution, the task fall into Ministry of Social Security. In Saudi Arabia, there is an agency called Awamil al-Kirch or Export Appraisal, which is a joint commission between the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Home Affairs. This institution is responsible for the management of agricultural zakah, especially in assessing agricultural products. For zakah on profession, each profession and all type of assets will be deducted from their respective accounts after reaching the nisab. Did you know Department of Zakah and Income Tax in Saudi Arabia has a complete data and information center? Sudan. Zakah in Sudan is an individual responsibility and was implemented voluntarily until the regulations related to zakah management enacted in April 1984 as a law, called the Zakah Council Law. Now, the implementation and management of zakah in Sudan is based on the 2001 Zakah Law. According to Zakah Law, a person who is subject to zakah obligation is Sudanese citizen who is Muslim regardless of his current location. The property of a Sudanese citizen who is abroad still has to pay zakah. Not only Sudanese citizens, foreigners who are Muslim who live and work in Sudan are also subject to zakah obligation. The Sudanese government established two institutions related to zakah management, namely the Zakah Council as the appraiser and the High Council of Zakah Management as the legislator. Both the Zakah Council and the Zakah Management High Council are divided into two. central and provincial levels. The assets that must be paid for zakah are mining goods, gold, trade goods, money, silver, and securities. Also, agricultural products, livestock products, and treasure findings. Sudan has also expanded the object of obligatory zakah assets, namely mustagholat assets and zakah on income. Income from mustagholat includes processing agricultural products, processing animal products, zakah on income, net income from transportation services, and other income as determined by fatwa commissions. There are sanctions that will be imposed for those who are reluctant, avoid, or evade from their zakat obligations. If it done intentionally, the fine can be up to twice of the zakah that is issued. But if you think that's harsh, the obligation to pay zakah can deduct personal tax obligations, just like Saudi Arabia. In Sudan, the tax association is under the same roof as the zakah association. The Zakah Council delegates the distribution of zakah to the Ministry of Finance and National Economic Planning. Jordan. Did you know that Jordan is the first Islamic country to issue a law regarding zakat collection? This law was issued in 1944, which requires zakat only on certain type of property, namely livestock, land ownership, and imported goods. This law was later replaced in 1953, which imposed a social service tax as a percentage of income tax. Then, in 1978, the law of zakah funds was formed, which regulates the formation of autonomous zakah funds under the Ministry of Endowment. This law provides a decision that taxes are an incentive for zakah payers by allowing them to reduce the amount of zakah paid from taxable income. In 1988, Jordan enacted a law regarding the annual zakat institution called Shunduk Zakat. This law gives the authority to prosecute people who violate zakat before the court. In carrying out its operational activities, Shunduk Zakat Jordan utilizes the Lajnah Zakah, also known as Zakah Commission. The distribution of zakat in Jordan focused on several areas, namely monthly assistance and temporary assistance, zakat for orphans, and for productive human resources development programs. In addition, zakat funds are also used for occasional goods transfers, job creation initiatives, and income. Elderly people, people with disabilities and their supporting organizations, people affected by accident and disasters, and poor students are also entitled to receive zakat assistance. Egypt. The State of Egypt issued Law No. 48 of 1977, which governed the establishment of the Egypt Faisal Islamic Bank. This law requires banks to collect zakat from capital, shareholder profits, and also collected independent or free funds from zakat in banks. This law does not apply to impose any tax cut on muzaki. The zakah network in Egypt consists of 4 elements, namely voluntary committee not affiliated with public good committees, the Wakaf committee and the companies affiliated with its volunteers, Nasir Social Bank and its volunteers, the Egypt Faisal Banks and its volunteers. Nasir Social Bank, founded in 1971, is the first milestone in the management of zakat in Egypt. The bank, which is owned by the government, is given the responsibility of making social welfare projects. Malaysia. In this country, the collection of zakat is carried out by the private sector, where the government only acts as a facilitator and person in charge, kinda like the neighbor Indonesia. The management of zakat in Malaysia is placed under the administration of the Islamic Religious Council. From this Islamic Religious Council, a very innovative group was born, such as the Zakat Collection Center and the Hajj Savings. The Zakat Collection Center officially operated on January 1st, 1991 in Kuala Lumpur. There are 4 zakat management policies by the Malaysian government, including the Zakat Collection Center as a pure company that specifically collects zakat. Allow Zakat Collection Center to take up to 12.5% of the total zakat income each year to pay employees and operational costs. The government determines zakat as a tax deduction, and the government budget funds to assist Baitul Mal's activities in eradicating poverty. The distribution of zakat in the federal territory could be done in several ways. For example, through direct assistance programs for the poor, such as food assistance, financial assistance, medical assistance, education, school uniforms, house contracts, natural disaster relief, weddings, and businesses. Indirect assistance can be in form of providing indirect benefits, such as the Baitul Mal Proficiency Institute, which is active in providing coaching, skill training service for the poor. There are also organizations which provide shelter and education for mu'alaf, widows, and indigent. There are 4 sources of zakat in Malaysia, which is agricultural products, commercial zakah, zakah on income, and company zakah. Brunei Darussalam. Zakat management is regulated by the Brunei Darussalam Islamic Religious Council, also known as MIUB. Under the Ministry of Religion, MIUB is given the authority to collect and distribute zakat funds on behalf of His Majesty in accordance with Sharia provisions. The Zakat Fund Management is the responsibility of the Zakat Collection and Distribution Division under the MIUB. MIUB has also established another institution to manage zakat fund in Brunei Darussalam, namely the Quotation and Zakah Collection Section, also known as BAKAZ, which is in charge of administering zakat. Pakistan. The law on zakat management in Pakistan was officially issued in June 1979, called the Zakat and Ushur Law. This law was considered imperfect, so in 1980 the Zakat Law reformation began. The management of zakat in Pakistan is centralized at the Central Zakat Fund, also known as CZF, which has the authority to determine various policies and supervise matters relating to zakat. Zakat is obligatory for every Pakistani citizen whose wealth has reached the nisab. Zakat is not directly deducted from all types of assets that are subjected, but it is classified as a form of religious ritual. Now you may wonder, what about non-Muslims and foreigners? Non-Muslim and foreigners in Pakistan are not obliged to pay zakah. Non-Muslim and non-Pakistani citizens are subject to mandatory taxes. In Pakistan, the distribution of zakah is distributed to 8 asnaf. The main priority is given to the poor, especially widows, people with disabilities, either directly or indirectly, such as through official school education, skill development programs, hospital, clinics, and others. Bangladesh. In 1992, Bangladesh issued a Zakat Fund Ordinance Law, which was later amended in 1993. Through the Zakat Law on January 5, 1992, the Bangladeshi government established a Zakat Board, which is tasked with formulating policies for the management and administration of zakat and other functions to achieve the objective of the Zakat Law. Apart from the ZFO as the central zakat management body, other Islamic social foundations in Bangladesh include the Allama Abul Khair Foundation, Zakat Foundation of America, and Ahsaniyah Mission Zakat Fund. Zakat funds in Bangladesh are not only disbursed in charitable forms, but also in various productive forms such as scholarship for poor students with high achievement, business capital assistance in the form of rickshaw, sewing machine, plants, livestock, and poultry. Also providing business capital and training for micro and small businesses. However, in practice, the collection and distribution of zakat funds is often done individually, especially in rural areas. The distribution of individual zakat funds is often random and unorganized. Kuwait issued a law on the establishment of a government institution in charge of managing zakah, namely Baitul Zakah, on January 16, 1982. But it turns out that the history of zakat management in Kuwait has been recorded long before that. There are three phases of development of zakat management in Kuwait. First, the individual management phase, where zakat is managed voluntarily and personally from the initiative of the benefactors in helping those in need. Second, the group management phase, which at this stage takes place simultaneously with the development of quality society, along with the development of trade as the main source of state income. The third and the last is the institutional management phase. The forerunner of zakat management emerged in form of an organized institution which began in the early 20th century, with the establishment of Al-Jam'iyah Al-Khawariyah Al-Arabiyah in 1913 AD. Nowadays, Kuwait has Baitul Zakah as the central zakah management with a board director led directly by the Minister of Wakaf and Islamic Affairs. Case study. As a case study of the practice of zakat management, we took the zakat distribution process in Brunei Darussalam as an example. Brunei is considered a prosperous country. However, the poor and needy still exist, and zakat assistance is one of the support they receive. In Brunei Darussalam, there are 6 types of zakat assistance. First, there is the fulfillment of basic needs. This assistance, provided specifically for the poor, is related to basic needs such as food, education, accommodation, medical assistance, higher education, institution costs, and disaster relief. The second is accommodation for the indigent, poor, converts, and to help the homeless. They will be given a rental payment for no more than $500 per month, including electricity and water costs. If the recipients of zakat own a plot of land, a suitable house can be built for them with the assistance of zakat funds. Third, education. Assistance is also provided in form of payment for tuition fees, stationery, textbooks, and transportation to school. This is an additional $6 per head for the children's monthly tuition fees. The fourth is capital for business. Business capital assistance is provided in the form of machinery and equipment, such as fishing boats complete with fishing equipment, taxi boats and engines, sewing machines, tools and materials for aquaculture, food processing equipment, supplies, and other necessities for the business. Then the fifth is emergency assistance. Part of the zakat funds is provided for victims of fires and natural disasters, such as hurricanes, floods, and landslides in form of cash of up to $200 per head in addition to school uniforms, stationery, books, and other necessities. The sixth and the last 8 is health. This assistance is intended for health costs, including the cost of health services for those who need medical attention aboard, airfare for the patients and the accompanier, accommodation, transportation, and a stipend are provided from zakat funds. Now you know how zakat is managed in these 9 Muslim majority countries. We hope that this video broadened your knowledge on zakat matters. That's all from us. Hope you enjoyed the video. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.